Hello, all. Deepa here. I'm a life and a leadership coach and a facilitator. And I'm here back on the Leaders Voice series, where I amplify the voice of energy driven leaders. Leaders who are successful in their own field and yet they believe in inner balance and inner mastery and mastering their energy. Now, why did this become important for me? As I was practicing, I was facilitating and coaching, what I realized is I do meet leaders day in and day out, but most of them talk about leading with skills. And that made me realize that is skills enough for leadership? Is it all? No. For me, it feels like when a leader leads just with their skills, they are standing on one foot. How would it be if we add a layer of energy to it? In fact, they're leading with energy and layering it with leadership skills. How balanced would their leadership dance be? And this was the motivation for me to start the Leaders Voice series. In today's series, I have invited Neha Chopra. Neha, welcome to the series.
Hello, very nice to be here. Thanks, Deepa.
Thank you. So, to share a bit about Neha, Neha comes with 23 years of experience across sales, business development, operations, and now a dominant professional in HR and people experience. She kickstarted her career in business development and sales, which was a great foundation to help her set her business focused mindset. She developed a capability of understanding businesses from a big picture view to a granular view, thus knowing what works and what does not in running and growing a business. As she progressed, she developed a passion for people and people related aspects. And her career then took a turn towards HR and people enablement. And I would say, Neha, this is such a treat for the HR fraternity because there are very few people who are HR with a business mindset. This is a treat for the organization that all the organizations you worked for.
Thank you.
She has worked across various aspects of HR and people experience with a key focus on leadership development and DEI. The last decade of her career has spanned horizontally across HR, where she played the role of an HR head or leader in startups to mid-size organizations, handling an employee base of about 2,000 people. In the last 5 years, she has worn a double hat of playing the role of an HR head as well as a champion of DEI, where she devised and implemented a DEI strategy in her current and previous organization. She is passionate about the social sector and plays an active role in contributing to various social causes. An outdoor enthusiast, runner, trekker, she gets inspired by nature. And that's her way of getting her dose of warm sunshine. She is hugely inspired by the younger generation and spends a lot of time coaching them and learning along the way. In fact, in one of her social sector endeavors is when I got to know her. And the moment I met her, it was about I think 5 or 6 years, right, Neha? Five or
Yes,
six
it
years ago.
was.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was the time I met her, and I knew that she is an energy driven leader for her inner matters, and of course, that shows in her outer. So that's my motivation actually to reach out to Neha and welcome Neha once again to the show. And I'm so excited to be a part of this conversation with you.
Thank you, Deepa. And I think our conversations have always been so fantastic. We never seem to have enough time to complete those conversations, do we? So thank you for having me. And I hope
Very
I can
true.
add a lot of value to this conversation and many more.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So Neha, like I shared the intention. When I was working in my full-time job, honestly, I didn't know about energy work. I knew that I had breakdowns. I knew that, I would feel low. I would compare, contrast with people. I would say, I'm not good enough. I don't have this. I knew all of that. But at the end of the day, I always got exceeded expectations. My bosses were always happy with me. I I transformed the culture of the organization and I did many things. But all of that came at a cost. Much later, when that kept happening, I realized what's going wrong. And that's when I understood that we have several layers of energy, being the body, our vitality, our thoughts, emotions, and all those layers needed to be looked at to be successful with ease and balance. So I want you to share your journey of how you look at, energy driven leadership.
Yeah. I think, Deepa, when I started my career, and I think like most of us, right, we're so naive and we just accept the way things are. And I think I learned a lot. It was a fantastic experience. But as I continued to work over the years, I also realized that somewhere I was trying to fight this inner being to say that I'm a different person at work and I'm a different person when, in my personal life. And that didn't resonate with me because I didn't know how living two lives is, right?
Yeah.
I always I was never a person who pretended, and as a child I've always been very I think very vulnerable, and I think people saw what they saw in me, and I was very transparent. So as I continued to build my career and as I got more maturer and as I experiences of life started, coming into, and, I started experiencing life really, I realized that I think a lot of your personal being also comes at work. While you do, work through the way you respond to situations, the way you react to situations, and I think that happens work, at workplaces, but your inherent style continues to remain the same. And as I grew, I think the feedback that I always got, whether it was from the leaders that I worked with or the teams that I worked with or my peers, was that you're extremely approachable. We can come and talk to you. You seem to have a very mature way of responding to situations. And I think if you ask people also, personally, they will tend to say that. I do get a little impulsive and reactive because I am also very spontaneous in nature. But I think over a period of time, I realized that a lot of my personal self comes to work, right? And comes to my leadership style. Now, in all of this, I've also realized that I've built my energy. I've kind of harnessed my energy over a period of time. And my inner self has really, really grown in a big way.
Yeah.
And like I said, the life experiences, some great ones, some very tough ones, have only propelled me in that direction to say that how do I really get into understanding my own energy, my own self, and then putting myself out there. So I think authenticity is something that I've always wanted to live with, and I'm hoping I'm continuing to live with that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, as I hear you, there was this thought that was coming in. 2 days ago, I was facilitating in another organization, and the conversation was about masks. Is masks, wearing masks, okay? Yeah, and one of the thought that I had on that was that wearing mask is necessary. Otherwise, we can be truly naked, and that is very scary and not needed. But the difference is that authenticity is about you are wearing a mask, and then when you're out of the situation, you can remove it and hang it on a hanger.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that makes you
Absolutely.
peaceful. Otherwise, it gets so stuck that I don't know who am I.
Yes. Yes. And I think, Deepa, whenever my teams or my peers or my leaders will come to me with a situation, I think one of the things that I will always say is that forget, what we're supposed to do from a work standpoint
Yeah.
on a work angle. But now sit back and say that if you were in that position, right? Whether it's an individual, you're taking a decision for an individual or for a team, how would you like to be treated? How would you like to be seen? And the moment you put yourself in that situation and in that position, your whole ability to take a decision in a manner which is again authentic, right? And which is also for the people and for the organization becomes so much more real, right? And I think that's so important, because as organizations, we're so run by processes and policies and the way things are done. But the whole element of bringing in the HR focus or the people focus is always about saying, if that were me, how would I like to be seen and like to be treated? So that's
Wow.
always been a way that I have operated. And I don't think I've failed or fallen flat on my face.
Yes.
I
Yes.
may have learned a few lessons here and there, but I think I've done fine.
Wow. Because the moment you say this, you've actually brought empathy in the picture, and you're not just operating from the head. From
Yeah.
the head, you've gone to the heart, and then you can go to the head and take that decision.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think, and this is a lens that I see people with, I see any situation with. And uh, I think my ability to judge the external world has become so minimal, so minimum or minimal, whatever you want to call it, because I'm like, I don't know the story of the individual, right? If I'm sitting and judging an individual from the exterior, hold on, who am I? Who am I to do that? So I think that ability to accept people just the way they are, situations just the way they are, has gone up tremendously. Has gone,
Yes,
and it's given me a significant amount of peace.
exactly. Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
What is
yeah.
leadership if you can't do it with peace, no?
Yes, absolutely. What is leadership? And today, and last evening I was having a conversation with my team member where she came to me and she said, I didn't like two or three situations where you spoke to me in this manner. And I had to very clearly separate the emotions that she was feeling and why I did. And suddenly there was a turnaround for her, and she said, I was expecting you would react and say, no, but I didn't. I said, no, that's not how. You felt a certain emotion, you felt a certain way, and I'm not going to dismiss that or completely, derogate that, but I'd really like to understand it and see that what I can. So, and then, she sent me a message in the night and said, this just strengthens our relationship. So,
Yes. Beautiful.
and
And
why not, right? Because we say, why do we need to build relationships at work? But why not?
why not?
Why
Why
not?
not? Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's truly a mindset, Neha. It's
yeah,
not that
yeah,
others don't know this technique, and this technique is
absolutely.
it's there all over. But why is it
Yes,
that Neha chooses this and another leader wouldn't? It's about also the inner work that you have done with your life. So when you face a situation by yourself, I'm sure you have a process where you ask what's at play for you.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
you can take the others only to the extent you have gone deep inside. Would you
yes,
like to share about
yes,
that? What your
yes.
thoughts are?
So I think, Deepa, and I was sharing with you a little while ago, one of the things I've done a lot of inner work, a lot of work on myself in the past few years, because I've also seen, I've realized that for a large part of my life, I didn't focus on myself. Everything was about whether it was my family, whether it was my, friends, whether it was my work. It was always my responsibility and my duty towards others. But very soon in that journey, I also realized that there is a huge amount of responsibility to myself. And I think that really came about in a very, very strong and stark way. And I've realized that till you don't work on yourself, it is very, very difficult to actually work on situations around yourself. Because then it is constant reactivity, it's constant reaction, it's a lot of negativity, it's a lot of negative energy. And I just wanted to kind of, it's like flipping the coin, right? And you say that now, that's it. That's it. And that was, um, it was like a eureka moment for me. And so that's it. That inner, uh, you know, view has to come in. I have to start looking inward. I have to be able to accept things that are not right with me and how I can make those positive changes. And I also have to accept and love the things that I'm doing right and why, why I am the way I am.
Yeah.
So I think that really changes the entire story. It just changes the way you appear to your stakeholders. It just changes the way you appear to the organization. It just changes the way you appear to customers. It just changes the way you appear to your family. It just changes the way you appear to your friends. And they see a very different me, right? And surprisingly, people come and say, "Oh, you have sudden glow on your face. What are you doing? What cream are you using? And what?" And I don't. I'm just not a person who uses a lot on my face. And I'm like, really nothing. It's just a lot of inner work. Yeah. I don't want to sound like one of those philosophical gurus, but yeah, I have done a lot of work on myself, and I'm so proud of it.
Yes, yes. In fact, yesterday somebody was asking me that I've done so much work on myself and yet I experience breakdowns. And I'm like, when is it enough? And, I was
Absolutely.
telling her that because as a breakdown, there is a striving to have a breakthrough. If there was no breakdown, there wouldn't have been a striving. And that striving is what reaches us to the next level of consciousness.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when our consciousness changes, then the people we lead or whatever interactions we're going to have, that would be at the next level of consciousness. So
Yeah.
imagine how everything is being elevated.
Yes.
And it was a
Absolutely.
aha moment for her. So okay, I'm in the right place. So
Yes.
I'm hearing something
Yes.
like that with you as well.
Yes. Yes. And I think breakdown moments are so natural because that's also your time to cleanse, right? It happens.
Yes.
Because while earlier my breakdowns, I would go really deep down and it would take me time to kind of pick
Correct.
myself up and pull myself out of that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
Now it happens much sooner. And I don't think I beat myself up, right? I'm like, yeah, this happened. Okay, fine. And I'm not going to beat myself up and, uh, because of this situation. So I think the way you look at situations, the way you look at yourself becomes so different, and which is not hurtful, right? So I think that is a big thing. And if I go back to even 10 years ago in my life, even if I wouldn't get, I needed everything to be perfect, right? I wanted everything to be perfect, and I knew it wasn't. And that lack of perfection was also causing so much of anxiety and so much of angst, and I would beat myself up. And now I'm like, I don't care about perfection.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not what I want to really move towards. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So a lot of times I've seen, and when I'm working with women leaders in different organizations, this one aspect of I need to be perfect. There could be a stereotype. There also is an element of insecurity. If I'm not perfect, I'm not good enough. So, have you experienced this in your work in the DEI space or even otherwise? And is it specific to women, men, or do you observe something else? And how does inner work help?
Yeah. So, Deepa, I don't want to make it sound like a gender conversation,
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
but I also want to bring about a factor of conditioning. And I think I'll talk
absolutely.
about myself and then see how I see women at the workplace. I think we're all brought up to say that, okay, great, be financially independent, be able to be economically independent, but at the same time, you also have a family to run. And you also have your in laws, you have your children, you have your husband, you have your parents, you have whoever, right? So, in our mind as women and as working women, as the way I see it, we do want to get and set everything right, right? And I think so many women that I speak to, like one of the challenges they always have is with their children, and they resist saying that, oh, I'm not going to put my child in the daycare because I'm going to be deemed as a bad mother. And the whole point is, how do you change that mindset, and how do you kind of, get them to understand that it is really not about perfection. Don't yearn for that, because in that struggle of perfection, you're going to lose yourself somewhere.
Correct.
And
Correct.
then the impact that you'll have on your family, or you'll have on your, children, and then finally even at your workplace, is going to be actually contrary to what you're wanting to do, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so if there's a project that's been assigned to me, of course put in your 500%, but things are likely to go wrong, but don't beat yourself up for it. So I think that is extremely important. Second is, I think for women it's also very important to be able to say where I need to stop. I really need to stop, because it's going beyond my level of control or my level of ability, and I need to seek help. I
Yes.
think I've been very poor when it comes to seeking help, and I think I've learned that along the way. So I think that's the other piece of advice. Seek help from your husband, seek help from your peers, seek help from your boss. It's always okay to go and say, I'm not getting this, I need help, right? So I think that changes again, and there'll be immense number of people who will come and say, I'll help you. What's the big deal? So I think that's the second bit that I always tell people at the workplace, whether it's a woman or a man. But I think a woman tends to also beat herself up for her failures. She does.
Yeah.
She does bring herself down, because she sees her life as multiple jigsaw pieces, right? She sees work, she sees family, she sees friends, she sees personal health, she sees personal well being. And somewhere, personal health and personal well being become this little piece of the puzzle, but the larger pieces of the puzzle are the work and the
Yeah. That's it.
family and the children.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Very
so,
true. Very
yeah,
true. In
yeah,
fact, if you really see the energy, if you break it down, what energy is, the personal well-being, the personal health piece, um, thoughts and emotions play a very important role.
yeah,
So the fact when you said that I feel guilty for not things not done, or the thoughts that come. So the world of thoughts and emotions are actually the game changer.
yeah,
And in terms of when we look at the inner energy, we change that, and also or observe, when am I stepping into that limited thinking or
correct,
my negative thoughts, and
correct,
hold that and catch, we are able to come out of that well quicker. Now this
correct.
becomes a difficulty a lot of
Yeah,
times. Yeah.
yes.
So what have been your thoughts of how can one um, stop themselves from really going down the drain and pull themselves up quicker?
I think what's worked for me, Deepa, and I think even people who I've coached and I've mentored and I've worked with, is when you see yourself going downhill, first is stop.
Mm.
Just stop. And don't get too worked up about saying, oh, I have to fix this. There's nothing to fix. You're not a machine to be fixed, right? You need time to be able to understand what that downhill road is and where is it taking you. So one is just stop, and then two is get in touch with what are you feeling? Are you feeling anger? Are you feeling hatred? Are you feeling sadness? Are you feeling remorse? Are you feeling grief? It could be just about anything. Get in touch with that emotion. Now, if you're unable to do that and you feel that there's somebody who can help you kind of identify that, then please go seek that help. Whether it is a therapist, whether it's a friend, whether it's a parent, whether it is a sibling, whether it anybody, just go seek that help. And then the moment you step back and you get in touch with, you know, in EI, we say self awareness is so important. I think that's the time when you feel, hold on, it's not that bad. And when you go and talk to somebody, you're in your mind, you're able to, hey, I have this figured out, right? So I think just stepping back and slowing down will do a lot of that work. Getting in touch with your own emotions will do a lot more, you being in control. And then you're able to pave your way forward. I think that really helps, uh, get into. And then, of course, forgiveness, right?
Mm.
Please be kind to yourself.
Mhm.
How harsh we are to ourselves, it is
Oh,
unbelievable.
yeah,
We
that's true.
can pull ourselves apart like how? Just
Yeah,
stop doing that.
yeah, yeah.
Stop doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, and that also comes from when I ask my coaches, whose voice is it when there is a critical voice? And they say it's my mom's voice. If I were to ask them, go to your mom and ask her, is this how you feel right now? I am sure because I have asked my mom, is this how you feel? That voice. And she says, no, you are amazing. I mean, so it's long, long gone. It was maybe the 6-year-old me who felt it. But at 47 years, I'm still holding on to it and making it
Yeah,
my life today.
yeah,
And then being
yeah.
so critical about it. And I think for this we need interventions. And these interventions, our friends cannot do it. And that's therefore I said professional help
Correct.
so important. A well-informed coach or a well-informed therapist or even a support group that works on the world of thoughts and emotions can really be such an important intervention for a leader to manage their thoughts and emotions and not go down.
Just look at that, right, Deepa? When we talk about professional intervention, the big conditioning we have is because there's something wrong with us, we
Wrong,
need to
yes.
go ahead and seek
Yeah.
professional help.
Yeah, that's
And
correct.
it's just the other way
That's
around
correct.
because we want to get to be a better version of ourselves. So I'm going and see. And what's
Yes,
wrong with that, right?
that's correct. That's
So I
correct.
think it is such a huge mind shift that needs to happen amongst all of us that when I seek professional help, I'm not doing it because I can't handle my life. It is because
Yes.
I want to figure it out.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And Neha,
Yeah.
very interesting. I have to tell you this. Once, a coach, a very senior leader, he approached me saying that, he asked me that, do you know why I chose you as my coach? I said, why? He said, because you are a psychologist, you are an erstwhile therapist, and also a coach. So if I have a therapy related thing, then also I can talk. So
Mm.
then I asked, so would you not go to a therapist? So that is when, he figured that he has a mental model about going to a therapist.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
fancy to go to a coach for the same thing which ideally a therapist would have helped.
Correct.
So then
Correct.
what we did, because I'm trained in therapy, we changed our agreement. Because I
Mm.
wouldn't do coaching for somebody who needs therapy. So we recontracted, saying that if therapy is a need, yes, I will service, but the contract must clearly say it's therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once we went through the journey, he realized that it was just a mental model. He needed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the other thing also, Neha, I see is that when it's a group, men find it difficult to be vulnerable than women who are okay to be vulnerable. And this is from my experience of facilitating so many groups that it's quite hard. So they are okay with a one-on-one conversation in closed doors, but in a group, it's quite hard.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know what it is. And, I'm surrounded by some wonderful men, friends that I have.
Yeah.
Uh, and I sometimes want to shake them up and say,
Yeah.
it's okay to just be vulnerable
Yeah.
and share
Yeah.
what you really
Yeah.
are feeling. But
Yes.
that's how they're built again, right?
That's
It's got
yes.
to do with
Yes.
their conditioning and
Yes.
think boys don't cry and,
Yes. Yes.
that kind of
Hard. Yeah.
yeah, but I see that changing as well. I think,
Yes. Yes.
and why I get so impressed with the younger generation, Deepa, is because the younger generation is far more vulnerable and so open about how they're feeling and what they want, they're experiencing in life, no, including all genders. So I think
Yes.
that uh, I'm
Yes.
getting to learn a lot from them.
Very
Yeah.
true. In fact, I just had a retreat last month on emotions. Out of the 7 participants, 3 were men. I was thrilled.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Whenever I go
Yeah.
to workshops or retreats, it's generally the women who turn up.
Yeah.
And it's so
Absolutely.
beautiful. It was their choice, and they were not. It was not that they were sponsored or nominated. It was their self choice. So it's
Yes.
heartening for me to see it is changing. See, the other thing that I'm experiencing and seeing is when we work on stereotypes and they don't and we're not challenging them, it holds our energy back. And it's the same energy that I would have used in my leadership actions, which is being used up to contain all of that and probably suppress it. It's huge energy and that goes unnoticed. When there is a
Mm.
cut, blood oozes and I can put a band-aid. But when that's not happening, when energy is being drained, it's not visible. And then it's so
Yeah.
much energy is drained in being self-critical, not acknowledging, not accepting everything that you shared,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it is so important to very consciously work on your stereotypes.
Yeah.
I've actually made a list of my stereotypes, and sometimes I'm laughing at myself, and sometimes I'm like aghast and saying, really? Is this a stereotype I've lived with all my life? And hold on, Neha, which Neha is this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it can stir you a bit, but the moment you recognize or you even identify your stereotype, you're able to work on it. It's
Yeah.
like an unconscious bias, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we do trainings and we talk to
Yeah.
our
Yeah. Yeah.
organizations and
Yeah.
our teams about it. And
Yeah.
but it's really to step back and say that how do I identify those biases and then work towards it?
Yeah. This is so awesome that it takes courage, Neha.
Oh yeah.
It takes courage
I
to
think
face
any
it.
kind of change, no, Deepa, and since you're, a light worker and you're a life coach, you'll realize change is about courage.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
nothing else. Any
Definitely.
small change also that we make in our life is about courage. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah,
Very true.
absolutely.
Very
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
yeah,
I also see a lot of people struggling, suffering with illnesses. And if we really look at the pattern of the illness, it has manifested now in the body. And
yes,
unless it manifests, one wouldn't see it. But it
yeah,
would have started as a stereotype or a stuck belief or a stuck emotion, an unprocessed area of that part, and then it
yeah,
hits the most vulnerable
yeah,
part of our body.
correct, correct,
So do you see
absolutely.
that as a trend in the organization
Oh,
also?
yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely. And that's why are we bringing in so many of these wellness programs, right? And I have a very dear friend who runs his own wellness organization, and he focuses purely on physical well-being.
Mm.
And he talks of how physical illnesses actually come from a certain amount of stress in our lives,
Yeah.
and then how it goes and impacts our work life, right? So there's also a lot of correlation that we build,
Yes.
right? And so absolutely, and I'm seeing a lot more of these ailments, that at work, like when my team comes and says, "Oh, I have this backache," and they're young,
Mm.
they're they're kids in their 20s, and I'm like, hold on, I mean, I'm 47 and I'm justified to have a backache, right? Because I'm old, but I still don't have it. So why are you complaining of that? So yes, it is all so interrelated and interlinked.
Yes. Very
And I
true.
think that's why the focus on wellness in organizations has become so critical.
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. I'm loving this conversation, Neha. I'm actually loving it.
Thank you. Thank you. Same here. Likewise.
Yeah, it's really an opportunity to share our thoughts and listen to yours and likewise other guests. So as we are here now, maybe it's just the right time to look at um, what probably is your, I mean, I wouldn't call it advice, but what's your message for people who are listening to it? How can one um, focus on their inner mastery and inner life and yet succeed in their leadership skills, leadership outcomes?
I'll tell you how my life has turned around, and I'm ever so grateful. And it begins with gratitude. I think, and I don't believe in I mean, while it's great to begin your day with gratitude, and I do, but I think I'm offering gratitude all the time. Okay. And I think that's a big thing. And it's a very personal, energetic aspect, right, of your life where you
Yes,
offer gratitude for just about anything and everything in your life. And there are times when you will complain, but you have to just step back and say, hold on, this could have been worse, right? And I've had some very tough moments in my life, and I still sit back and say, this could have been worse, right? So thank you for just putting me through this. So I think gratitude is very, very important. Two is slow down. We're not running a race. I mean, we all want to feel that we're running a race up the ladder. But believe you and me, when you step back and you just do work that is true to yourself and you're enjoying it, the ladder is something that you'll climb anyway.
correct.
Nobody can stop that. It's 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 a part of that growth, right? So I think don't get too hung up on the outcome, because I think the moment we say, I have to get to that outcome, we just become, it's good to be feverish and passionate about what you want to achieve. But the moment you attach yourself to an outcome, it just tends to get, uh, you know, uh, we can lose the purpose of why we're doing what we're doing, because it's so
Mm,
important to enjoy the journey. So even when we're doing projects, and I tell my team, yes, have your outcomes, say that what are we wanting to achieve, but at the same time, the whole process of getting, doing your activities, your tasks, enjoy those.
mm,
Because if you don't enjoy that, you're going to get too pained about the outcome, too pained about it. So I think that's and third is, of course, respect, Deepa. I think if we can't respect ourselves and each other, what are we doing? We're working with human beings, we're working with human behavior, we're
mm,
working with talent. At the end of the day, we're all made um, of an organ called the heart, which really beats for us. But we want to bring in this whole aspect of, no, I will think logically and I will think from my
mm,
mind and my brain. But it's
mm,
so important to sit back and say, what's my inner voice telling me?
mm,
So I think that really helps.
mm.
I've lived by these three, and let me tell you, I was never like that. I've changed myself to live like that, and I'm loving my life.
Yeah.
I'm
Beautiful,
just loving it. Yeah.
beautiful. When you say slow down, I feel even this conversation, the pace at which it is and the way
Yes.
it is, I can sense it in you. And it's like a rub off we have on each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's at that
Auras
pace.
and energies always resonate.
Yes.
There is no way that energies and auras don't resonate.
Yes.
And you will feel positive energy, you will also feel negative energy.
Yes. Very
Yes.
true. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Very grateful for having
Thank
you.
you, Deepa. It's such a great opportunity. And I would love to keep talking to you. It's fantastic.
Pleasure.
And just a message to everyone. If there's anything that I can do to help you all, just feel free to reach out to me over LinkedIn. I'd love to do that.
Thank you, Neha, and thank you all.